Recording in progress. All right. So, all right. So I'm setting this up onto Facebook. All right. Join me for another pass. All right. Yeah. Here we go. All right. It is now. It is now live streaming. Hi. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ask Me Anything About Improv. Let me take a look and see what we got today. All right, so we will jump right in right now. Let's see. Good morning, Mike. Gorgone says that would have almost been a complete cast of Breakfast of Hitchhikers and Appetizers. Wonderful podcast. If you like improv, if you like watching people react to each other, character improvisers. If you like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and shows like, the Magic Tavern, then I would definitely recommend Hitchhikers and Appetizers. I put on the post what he's referring to is, but Jay, why are you doing this instead of going to breakfast with Orinthia Carter, Jillian Bellinger, and Carla Kukowski, which I was supposed to do yesterday? Well, I'll tell you why. Because on Friday, I think it was Friday, we got a message that said that my daughter, there was someone in her class who first tested got an incomplete test or inconclusive, and then the next day it came back positive for COVID, which is now the way of life in these United States. And so I had messaged those three. We were going to get together because Orinthia was in Los Angeles. And she, by the way, huge news for Orinthia. So I did a 10-minute thing, a 10-minute scene with her, and she was just great. We got connected, and now she had come to LA, and I was like, oh, I would love to come out, and if you're around and available, let's meet up. And she was gonna meet Jillian and Carla, and so anyway, I was gonna meet up, and I was so excited, but then that thing happened. I didn't want to expose any of them to COVID, and we got our test back, and luckily we're all negative, my kids included, but that was just what happened. And so Orinthia also is now writing on staff. She's a writer for a great show called Black Lady Sketch Show, which is just amazing. So congratulations to her. But yeah, that's why I was unable to make that meeting, that breakfast with them. And it was sad because I really wanted to see her and Jillian and Carla, and just thought it would be safer not to until we got the results. Margot asks, what's your secret sauce for playing an animal like a dog or zebra? Oh, I think that's great. I think one thing you could do is you look at what are the characteristics of those animals, and then bring that into the scene. Like I have a dog. And so if I play a dog, I try to play my dog as if my dog's a human, and my dog can be very like energetic and curious and excitable, and thinks that they're very small, even though they're very big. So I might play characters with those tendencies. I also like to play using animals. That is, if I'm using an animal for a human. Right. But if I'm playing an animal, a lot of times I'm just really trying to play that animal. And so I really want to be a cat or a dog or a cow. And my favorite thing on stage, that brings me the most joy on stage, is playing a cow where I'm chewing cud and kind of bumping my head into a fence. It doesn't get any more exciting than that for me. But as improvisers, you are observant. So observe animals and then bring that to the stage. And if you are an animal lover yourself, if you have animals, see what happens if you, in some scenes, play them. It's really fun to play that. So yeah, if I play like a dog, I'll play that. If I play a zebra, I will just think, we don't really have time to come through a bunch of different ideas. So you kind of take an idea and go with it. So a zebra, I just think of, whether it's true or not, I think of it as a more majestic horse. So I might be very much playing a zebra like that, like very much someone who's very majestic. That in a horse, a zebra, I might think of, I'm going to play a very majestic animal and just change my body language to fit that. Also, it's like change your body and let the voice come. What voice comes from this body, rather than leading with the voice first. See how that works out for you. Michael Hammer Time, who, spoiler alert, is my brother. The Hammer asks, who's the worst improviser you've seen that was supposed to be good? Well, now isn't that quite the question right there? I think, I don't, it's a question that comes down to like preference, right? And like, I don't know if there's anyone where I'm like, oh, they're supposed to be good and they're terrible. I just think it's a style and preference thing. Like, I think I might watch some folks, and then my dog right now, Tessa, is chewing a blanket that's on the bed. So I want to make sure she doesn't do that. Tessa, good. Come on up here. Come. Okay. So look, good girl. So I think she's a little bit feisty right now. So this is Tessa. She's a good improviser. Sometimes doesn't want to follow as much as she wants to lead. Good girl. Okay. So I think it's a preference thing. And sometimes I see improvisers and it's like people love them and they are angry and yelling all the time. And that's just not, for me, I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy a constant stream of anger or yelling or things like that. I will tell you a story about someone who is not a good improviser and someone who was a good improviser. And so this happened a few years. I mean, this is now, gosh, if I had to guess, it was like 2002, maybe 2001. So it's 20 years ago. And it was at Improv Olympic in Chicago. I'll name that. And there was a group of students. You put on a student show, and then from that student show, your students are selected as to who the theater thinks should continue on and be a part of like groups, and those who aren't can take classes again or stop or whatever. But it's kind of an audition process. And there was someone who was in a group that was, I had taken a step away and I had come back in like 2001, and I had re-enrolled in classes at Improv Olympic after I'd been there for a few years, and I came back and re-enrolled. And then this was like a graduation, like after the 5th level. I think it was like 6th level because it was 5B. For some reason, they for a while was only like, you can only have 5 was the end of the level. So it'd be like 5A and 5B. For some reason, they didn't want to go to a level 6. I don't know. But anyway, there was someone in our class and they were good. And there was someone else in the class who was just not, it didn't seem like improv was for them. It didn't seem like they were a good listener. They didn't connect. It was just a struggle a lot of times for them and for the people on stage. Then the schedule comes out. That person who struggled was put on a team and the other person was not. And we were all wondering why. And it's the person making the schedule got their names mixed up and then thought it was too much effort to switch it. So let the person who was not good, let them on a team, and they were on the team. I think it was like one schedule they were on, and then that was it. And the person who wasn't good really kind of like stopped improvising at that theater. And it was a shame because they were really good. And so that was it. So like, you really have no control over what the people who are auditioning you for groups like that, why they make decisions they make. Sometimes it's like, it's as simple as that. They get a name mixed up. I guess that's an answer to that question. It's an answer because at this point too, it's like, well, you look at it, it's like, what's good? What's a good improviser? And that person who got on the schedule I was just talking about, maybe they would fit in well at a different theater or with a different style, or maybe around people they trusted more or who trusted them more. I don't know. So it's hard for me to say good and bad. I've stopped, like, I don't judge improv shows anymore. I don't like cage matches where two teams compete. I don't even like competitions of, like, there's a college improv tournament, and I used to be a judge of one of those, and I just stopped because I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel that I can say, and it's not my style to be like, oh, let me judge this. So, but yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Who's the worst improviser I've seen that was supposed to be good? Yeah, again, that's it. And sometimes it's like, improvisers get shows, whether it's a sketch show or an improv show or whatever, and you're just like, okay, I wouldn't have cast them, but for some reason that person saw that. You look at like let's say, for example, Second City, where it's like they have these sketch comedians and a cast, and you're like, are those the 5 best sketch comedians in the world? Because Second City is world renowned for comedy and sketch. Most of the time it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's up to the people deciding of what they think works best. And so, yeah. Jesse Marcus, if you could boil down all of improv to a single word, what would that be? Or, so first I would say and would be the word for me. I think yes is inherent. I think good improvisers, it's a yes and then and. So I guess I would boil it down to and, which means connecting and building to me. Or if the key to successful improv could be related in one word, what's the word? Same question, different wording. Well, I think the key to successful improv is curiosity, like being curious, and also with for me, positive is a big part of my play and my teaching. So I think being positive will really help out. I think being curious will really help out. I think I think excitement. Are you excited to be there? Excitement's a big part of it. I have something for coaches and teachers that I'd like to throw out there that I think might help us in this new generation, or help make people more confident in their skills and do better work, whatever that means to you. I think it's a matter of talk about the things that work and build on those instead of talking about the things that don't work in a scene. Like, for example, if a scene just has two people arguing, yelling, that's not really going anywhere, maybe the positive is, hey, person X shared their voice. They didn't back down from that argument. And so that's the positive to come of that. So let's keep building on that idea. That positive. Hold on, Tessa, come on, come here. Good. So thank you for understanding. I got a dog here. Come on. She's like in a playful mood. So I think that's part of it, is like continue to build upon things that are working for your group, for your students, for your classes, instead of pointing out what was wrong, making them feel bad about their choices, making fun of them, all that stuff. When is Ari in Norway? He's at Improv Nuff, which is one of my favorite places on earth. When is 10 Minutes with Stephen Colbert? Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly. Stephen Colbert, people ask me a lot of like, who would you want to do? I do a series of 10 minutes with, and I play with someone. Sometimes I know them, sometimes I don't. And we do a 10-minute scene, and then afterwards talk about how they got into improv. And people ask me like, who would be on my list of like dream improvisers, and Colbert would be on it. Steve Carell would be on it. And because they're both teachers, I did a 10-minute scene with Dave Rosowski, who was also a teacher of mine. It was like, and now he's a friend. And that was like super fun. So doing it with teachers is really good. I'm trying to do one with Michael Gelman, who was a teacher of mine back in the day. We're just figuring out what our schedules are, which will be super fun to do with him. And so yeah, Colbert also, when veterans play with like people with less experience or newbies or whatever you want to call them, like they want those newbies and those people with that less experience, they want them to play their style. They don't want them to wait for the veterans to make all the moves, or to defer to the veterans. Part of why we like playing with people who are newer than us is that they bring their style and we get to play with that. So yeah, I think Stephen Colbert would be a great person to play with. I've been watching the show Work in Progress on Showtime, which is amazing. And Abby and Tim Mason are just, Abby's the star and creator of it, and Tim was a co-creator and director of episodes from last year. And it's just a really amazing series that's filled with Chicago improvisers and improvisers in LA who were in Chicago. And it's really great to see friends pop up. And Amanda Blake Davis and Kate James, great improvisers, also wrote some episodes and were in it as well. Beth Malusky was in, Katie Nonson, Celeste Pechous is in. She's the best friend Campbell, and she's just brilliant. And so you see all these improvisers pop up. EJ Cameron was just in, and he had a role as like a room service attendant in a hotel. And it's like, even though it's not a huge speaking role, it's still really cool to see and to pop up. And the two shows that I would love to, like, I'd have no desire to be in TV or films unless I'm creating them and working on them. But like, I have no desire to audition and do any of that stuff. But two that I would love to be in, one is Comedy Bang Bang, which I think is just the funniest off the wall surreal comedy show. And the other is Work in Progress, which, because of where it shoots, who's involved, all of that stuff. Brendan Dowling was in it, and they wrote an episode, and it was also in it Mary Sohn. Like, it's just, the list goes on and on of just these tremendously funny people. And so, yeah, I would love to see that show go on for years and years and years. And I think there's lots of stories inside Abby that are waiting to come out. So that was an answer to Ari's question of when is 10 minutes with Stephen Colbert. And so, yes, so if you wanted to reach out and do that and start a campaign, I would just absolutely love it. Also, Amy Sedaris would be fun. She's on my dream list as well, who was in the Second City cast with Stephen Colbert. Back in the 90s, when I was taking classes, I would watch them, and they were just tremendous. And even if Amy and Stephen Colbert were not known, were not celebrities, they would still be on my list. That's the cool thing about improv, is there are people that you hardly will ever know that are tremendous improvisers that aren't quote unquote famous. And in work, speaking of those kind of improvisers, there's a guy named Paul Grandi he plays Jags. I think the name is Jags in Work in Progress. And I don't know if that's based on TJ Jagodowski or not, who's another improviser, but Paul is in Work in Progress, and he's just great. And he doesn't like say a lot, but every time he comes on, it's just like, oh, so cool. And I think it's one of those he's one of those characters that you'll remember, and that throughout this season, you'll start seeing more and more of him, and he'll have funnier and funnier bits. And I think he just brings so much to the table. So very happy for all those folks at Work in Progress. It's great. Hey, Kathy, what's up? Hi, Kathy. Yeah. Speaking of great improvisers, Kathy, nice to see you. Yeah, another great improviser. I always love playing with Kathy. Super fun, talented, short form, long form, facilitates corporate settings, is really just in the business world and specific, like in the business world in general, but in the tech world, doing amazing work right there. Chris Mead, yes, Work in Progress. Can't wait. Watch season 2. Chris is so great. I'm not kidding. It's so great. There she is. Amanda Blake Davis, former roommate, former teammate in comedy, sports, corporate work. Amanda Blake Davis is like, you have a list of people who it's like, oh, who do I want on this project? And she's like top of the list. So funny. And she was so funny as the, I guess, attendant. She worked at it was like a dog adoption place, and Campbell, Celeste's character, adopted a dog, and Amanda comes out. And again, Amanda's one of those people that doesn't have to say a ton to just have these very, very funny, silly moments. So I just love watching. I love watching, and ABD, the show's great. And ABD wrote an episode that was just tremendous. And it's like, it's so good to watch a show where they're not afraid to be vulnerable and have those moments that are just so great to watch. So it just is so amazing that show is on, and it's so amazing to watch. Like, I'm a huge fan of it. It's just tremendous, and so many great people on it. And it's funny, as an actor, you're like, oh yeah, I did a corporate gig with that person, or we facilitated a workshop and we had this bit about shrimp that we were eating at a buffet, and now they're doing this. And you're like, wow, I hope this parlays, and I hope they understand how good it is what they're putting out, especially that show, and how proud they should be, because we are all proud of them. And I love watching my friends get work more than I love working, if that makes sense. I love watching them do shows and things like that. And it is just such a good feeling when you see them get accolades, if you know what I mean. Oh, Kathy, yeah, for sure. Definitely see Work in Progress. I mean, it is on Showtime. You can get a free 30-day subscription or just subscribe to it if you're able to. But you can right now watch it free for 30 days and then just binge watch it. It is, season 1 was just like unbelievable. Everything about season 1. Season 2 is now shaping up as well. I remember I sent a message to Celeste, who plays Campbell, and they were like in the middle of shooting season 2 and just wrapping. I go, how is it? She goes, oh, it's great. It gets dark, but it's great. And it's right on the money. It's really, really good, folks. It's really good. And it's another example of like, you have a story to tell. There is an audience for it somewhere. And it goes back to the question about who's the worst improviser. It's like, I don't know. Somebody enjoyed it. And the fact that they're up there is a plus. The fact they're in front of people improvising, the fact that anybody knows about improv right now, when back in the day, people didn't know about improv, it's pretty great. ABD, thank you for watching. Yes, in the credits, ABD's character, mild-mannered woman, was the character name. So ABD, that's probably going to be on the top of your resume right now. It's like, oh, I was mild-mannered woman. But it just shows you, like, improvisers, they use those skills to act right and everything like that. And that's just a testament. And it's such a great thing when it's like, I mean, that's what my dream is hiring and working with my friends to do things we think are funny and we think are good. And the writing staff that they have, the people who are on writing staff, Kate James and Tim Sniffen, and I think Brendan Dowling is on writing staff there. And I just am like, that writing room must be just so welcoming and fun. And you feel heard by people and you're bouncing ideas off each other. Like, what a tremendous writing staff. And Abby, of course. Julia, speaking of good improvisers, Julia and I were in a group together called Do It, which was like super fun. Yeah, ABD, exactly. Win Emmys and put out excellent work. It was so fun to watch the Emmy. Well, I didn't watch it, but to see the highlights and see people like, Steve Waltine, another Chicago improviser, be part of that Colbert crew. Colbert, a Chicago improviser, to watch that and watch people be recognized. Ashley Nicole Black getting 2 nominations for writing, which is great. Ted Lasso, Sudeikis, and Brendan Hunt, and all those Chicago improvisers. I mean, we're taking over the world, folks. We're taking the world. And Kay Cannon I don't know if she wrote it, but I know she directed the latest Cinderella, and another Chicago improviser. Exactly, Julia. The dream is working with friends, doing creative stuff. And you know what? It is never too late. And it just takes one person to say yeah to an idea, and that's it. And one of the people who said, yeah, Julia Sweeney said, yeah, they wrote in Julia Sweeney in their, I think it was in the pilot, not knowing if they were going to get her for Work in Progress, and they got her. And I think the same thing for Vincent D'Onofrio was in this last one. It's the cameo was so great. It's like a dream, a ballet dream sequence on steroids, and such a great to know that someone like that, like Vincent D'Onofrio, says, yeah, I think this is great, I'm going to be in it. To know that he's a part of that show is awesome. So yeah, the dream is working with friends. So surround yourself with people who say yeah, and work with them and do stuff, and don't think about the end result of like, oh, it's got to get on TV or it's got to get an Emmy. And like, don't worry about that. Just do stuff with your friends, because if nothing else, you'll spend that time laughing with people who value you. They value who you are, your voice. Find those people who want to heighten your voice. And I think, speaking of Brendan Dowling and Amanda Blake Davis and Celeste, those are people who amplify your ideas. They don't like come in with their own idea. They look at your idea. Mike Kaczynski is another guy who's like that. They look at your idea and amplify it and be like, how can I add to your idea? And to me, those improvisers are few and far between. There's not a big percentage, and I wish there were, but there's not as big of a percentage as people who go, let me amplify your voice right there, instead of bringing my idea to the stage. Yeah, thank you, ABD. Kay Cannon wrote and directed Cinderella. So Kay Cannon, another person, I did a corporate gig with her, and there are lines in the corporate gig. It's a situation where write material, one of the situations is you do corporate sketch where you talk to folks in the company and then you write sketches about it. And sometimes you're a character that is providing just the exposition. You don't really have a lot of laugh lines, and that's somebody else in the sketch. But Kay Cannon can get a laugh with the lines that aren't meant to get laughs and not at the expense of other people. So she's a tremendous writer, director. She works a lot with Karen Gracci, another great improviser, amplifying other people's ideas. The list goes on and on. Karen Gracci's, I think her kids, I think she has 2 kids, I think they go to the same school as my kids. And so when my daughter, when somebody in her class got COVID, I reached out to Karen and said, what would you do? Would you keep your daughter at home? And she had some great advice for me. So I'm very thankful for that. Improvisers are great, and not just for doing fun stuff on stage, but just for being people and humans. Yeah, the Cinderella is great. So please go out and see that. See Cinderella, see Work in Progress, and build upon the things that are going well. Eliminate the focus on the things that aren't going well, and just what worked. Talking about in improv scenes, what's working, build on that. Spend less time on the things that aren't working, and spend as much time on the voice in your head saying that was good as the voice in your head that someone else put there that said that's not good. Remember, that voice in your head that's critical, somebody else put that there, not you. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. That was it. Thanks for all the questions. Great seeing everybody. You all are the best, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.